Today we're on another rooftop to do a breakdown on what is on the R6, because things can change so quickly and I always like to know what my bike was like at certain stages. So maybe a year from now I'll watch this and think that was a good bike, or I'll think it's exactly the same. But anyway, I'll try and keep it short because I can talk about my bike for hours. Okay, so you're just gonna have to excuse the audio if it's bad. There's now a jackhammer right next to me, but I do have a mic right here, so this is as good as I can get the audio, and I am actually trying. I can't concentrate. But anyway, let's start at the front of the R6, because this is where I think it looks as far from the factory bike as possible by getting rid of the factory mirrors and the factory windscreen. So the R6 doesn't have supports up the side of the windscreen, which means that the shape of the screen you put on there has quite an effect on the look of the front of the bike. So on this, I currently have the Puge slightly smoked screen. It is a beautiful screen. It really changes the whole look of the bike. It has R6 at the bottom in the base. It has beautiful lines, and overall it's so much better than the stock screen, and more importantly, better than the black screen that the bike came with. I am not a fan of completely black screens. To me, you can't see through them, and that is a vital part of having a screen. Now secondly, the way the front end looks different is that the stock mirrors or antlers are gone. So instead we have the controversial bar end mirrors. I know a lot of people don't like those. They think they should be put only on cafe races, but personally I think it's whatever look you're going for. So I want it to look as much like a track bike as possible. So when I look at it, I don't even notice the mirrors. But if the mirrors are what catch your attention, chances are you're going to think it looks like a really weird cafe racer. So to get rid of the mirrors, we also put Lightech block-off plates on where the mirrors used to be. They're actually from an R1, but they work just as well on this. The mirrors are, after all, the same size. So a lot of people ask me what mirrors are on the bike. Truth be told, I have no idea. They were just random Chinese mirrors that I actually bought from a friend because he couldn't use them on his bike, so I bought them from him. They are really bad quality. The mirror's already chipped. The mirror fell out once, and they're pretty loose. So one day I will look into getting better mirrors on them, but for the time being, they're not bad at all. So hidden behind those bar end mirrors are red anodized bar ends, which I love the look of. They're nothing fancy, but they are really cool if you notice them. I actually bought those before I put the bar end mirrors on, so the plan was for them to be fully visible, but at the end they're pretty hidden. But if you do see them, they're like a hidden Easter egg that I really like. Another thing on the front of the bike that you probably don't even notice, and that is exactly the point, is that the front mudguard is wrapped red. So the bike does actually have a red mudguard stock, but I wrapped it because it had a few chips in it, and this way it is protected and looks a lot shinier and glossier and just completes the look of the bike a little bit better than I felt it used to. Moving around to the cockpit, we're going to start with the worst piece there. Those hideous gold levers. I've had the bike for almost a year now, and I keep saying I'm going to change them, but for some reason I never do. I absolutely hate them. They feel horrible. They look terrible. So one day I should really get around to replacing those and stop just moaning about it. But just beyond that, you get the beautiful Domino Grips. I can't say enough nice things about Domino Grips. If you are going to replace your stock grips, I recommend Domino fully. I tried Pro Grips on my last bike, and they wore out in just a couple of months. These have withstood almost a whole year and look pretty much as good as new. I love the feel of them in your glove. They're very grippy and they just do everything right. So right next to your dash is a gear indicator. These are one of the things that was a big selling point on this specific bike. So as you probably guessed, I didn't fit it. I bought it secondhand with a gear indicator. If you've ever had one on a bike, you cannot live without it. I'm not saying you need one, but it does make life quite a bit easier, and you don't stress about what gear you're in quite as much. So it isn't a good one. I think it's a Geartronic or something like that. I'm guessing it was pretty cheap because it's usually far behind what gear you're actually in. It takes a few seconds for it to realize what gear you're actually in. It's not like if it comes standard with a bike where it knows instantly as you change, but I'm guessing the more money you spend, the faster it'll know what gear you're in. But it's better than nothing, and overall I wouldn't want to ride without it. I made a bracket to relocate it right next to the dash. When I got the bike, it was double-sided tape to the back of the mirror, or where the mirror is mounted, and that just didn't work. I couldn't actually see it, so there was no point. But like this, it works perfectly. Okay, so one thing that I missed on the front of the bike is the third eye on the front in the middle of the bike. If you notice, when I turn the ignition on, it doesn't actually light up. That is because when I got the bike, it was painted black and had a crack in it. It had been hit by a rock, and I absolutely hated the way it looked. One of the things that I love the most about R6s is that little slim third eye. So to have a bike where it didn't look its best, I couldn't live with that. So we ordered one from the States, and when it came in, I realized that it didn't actually have the light in it. It was just the housing. But at no point has that ever upset me. I love the fact that it looks good, but I'm always behind the light, so I never even notice that it doesn't light up. Okay, so next we're going to be moving around to the back of the bike. Dare I say my favorite end of the bike. So starting off, we have the tail light. To get rid of that stock hideous bracket with the big enormous indicators and number plate, we have an integrated tail light. So it was actually a clear one that I took plasti dip to, some black, a few coats of clear, and now it's a smoked one, and it blends into the black tail really nicely. Now when I look at pictures of the bike when it had a clear tail light, I'm so glad I did it. This way it just blends into the tail beautifully, and when the indicator comes on, it still looks very sleek. So then to get rid of the number plate, I made a homemade bracket. So you can buy brackets for the R6 that bolt just underneath the tail, but considering it's just a bent piece of metal, I think they might overcharge you. So basically I did exactly that. I bent 2 pieces of aluminium, drilled a few holes in them, and now I have a bracket for my number plate that's nice and clean underneath my tail. And lastly, the latest addition to my R6, and at the moment my favorite part about it is those stunning braided hoses. So I have Hull steel braided translucent red hoses front and back, and they are so beautiful. On the back, on the swing arm as it drapes around it, it looks amazing, and on the front they peek out just in front of the radiator. They look so cheeky and so beautiful. We also have a Shorty 2 Brothers exhaust, which I have a lot of mixed emotions about. So the sound is absolutely amazing. The way it pops and crackles, I couldn't ask for anything better. But the looks, I'm starting to think the 2 Brothers is outdated. I have nothing against them, they make beautiful exhaust, but this particular one has been through the wars. It has a lot of road rash on it. It has been bleached by the sun. I don't know what the previous owner did with it, but it just doesn't look good. Also, the setup to delete the cat has been done very badly. It looks like it was done by a plumber and not really a good welder. But as I said, I cannot complain about the sound. So the exhaust is one of the things that I would love to change on this bike. I'm just scared that it starts to sound different. So anyway, that is what is currently on my R6. I hope the audio wasn't too bad. I hope you're not sick of jackhammers like I am. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget the pleasantries. Please hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.